Think it's gonna work now. Yay. Here we go. And the booklet. Well, hey, welcome to TUBBS, everybody. Thanks for coming out on this cold night. Happy to have you here. Well, I thought we got the hard part out of the way last week, but now we have a bunch more laws to go through. Some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight are laws regarding houses, what to do in the case of rape. What was the other one? Oh, how to go about divorce and false allegations. And we're going to top it off with a discussion about incest. So we got all the hard topics tonight. So we're in Deuteronomy 22. We covered 22:5 last week. Did you have anything to add to that, Fred? Nope. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into all that, I guess let's go to the Lord with a word of prayer, and we'll get started. Thank you, Lord, for this time and place for us to get to know you better and to come in fellowship with other believers and to sharpen each other and to further and deepen our understanding of you, Lord. I feel like even in my own life, the more I understand you, the more things, other things in my life make sense. So, Lord, thank you for giving us this time and this place to get together and learn more about you. Please open up our eyes, hearts, and ears to receive what you're trying to tell us. And please move me out of the way and speak through me so that everyone here and online can hear what you're trying to say, Lord. Amen. All right. So, let me cover the first part of Deuteronomy 22. So basically 1 through 4. Because verses 6 through 7 tie into that as well. So Deuteronomy 22, verse 1. You shall not see your countryman's ox or his sheep straying away and pay no attention to them. You shall certainly bring them back to your countryman. If your countryman is not near you or you do not know him, you shall bring it home to your house, and it shall remain with you until your countryman looks for it. Then you shall restore it to him. Thus you shall do with his donkey, and you do the same with his garment. Shall do likewise with anything lost by your countryman, which he has lost and you have found. You are not allowed to neglect them. You shall not see your countryman's donkey or his ox fallen down on the way, and pay no attention to them. You shall certainly help him to raise them up. All right. And now we're going to jump to verses 6 and 7 here, because we discussed verse 5 in detail last week. So 22 verse 6, if you happen to come upon a bird's nest along the way, or in any tree on the ground with young ones or eggs, and the mother sitting on the young or the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall certainly let the mother go, but you may take for yourself, but the young you may take for yourself, in order that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days. All right. So this section here kind of relates to kindness towards animals. If you happen upon a bird, which, as far as species go, is kind of a pretty insignificant thing, or very delicate to say the least. So God here is commanding a special kindness towards the least of creatures. And we can kind of see it as, if you're faithful in the small things, you'll be faithful with much bigger things. So by being kind and gentle or respecting God's law towards something as small and simple as a bird, you're probably going to be able to be trusted with bigger and better things. And the other part of this is you are to leave the mother for the hope of future offspring. And you may take the young if you want. And it might be seen as a courtesy to end the suffering of the young. Because I'm not exactly sure if this is true, but I seem to remember my aunt telling me that like once you touch a chicken's eggs, the chicken will refuse them and like peck them or destroy them. Yeah, robins, baby birds, okay. So maybe not chickens, but, this could be seen as like, if you were to touch them, the mother is probably going to abandon them anyways. So the young you can take for yourself, but you have to leave the mother for the hope of future offspring. Kind of like during certain seasons, you can't shoot the does while they're reproducing. Uh-oh. Yeah, let me take this back here. 2, 6. There you go. So just tap the next ones. Yeah, the numbers don't correspond to the verses, so you actually have to read what verse it is before you move it along. Does that make sense? Yep. Yeah, you're fine. So the other part of this is, this might be seen as a restraint on greed from taking both the mother and the young since they found them. So this might be seen as, hey, take what you need, but don't take all of it just because it's there. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to cover on that. All right. Any questions on that part? The God's commanding kindness to animals and just kind of kindness to the things that we either happen upon or we are trusted with. All right. So moving on to verse 8 here. Now we're getting into a law for houses. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet for your roof, so that you will not bring the blood guilt on your house if anyone falls from it. Anyone know what a parapet is? We got the one student in the back. Yeah, it's like a low wall or railing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you kind of start to see here, the owner of the house is responsible for the safety of the users of the house. So it's to protect the owners of the house from liability. So in a way, it's kind of like God calling for you to have that little bit of insurance policy, or just to avoid needless injuries or deaths from people walking off the roof. Any questions on that part? All right. So now I'm going to cover 9 through 12. And these are kind of the 4 laws of separation. So you shall not sow your vineyard with 2 kinds of seed, or all the produce of the seed which you have sown, and the increase of the vineyard will become defiled. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. You shall not wear a material mixed of wool and linen together. You shall make for yourself tassels on the four corners of your garment with which you cover yourself. So, what do you guys think they're really getting at here? Yeah. Nick, you'll remember this. I was reading this last night, and I'm like, if I had to guess, this part here is about pagan culture. So I looked into it, and it's about pagan culture. So don't mix different seeds or try to find that magical combination to increase your vineyard yield. Hence it'll become defiled. The different animals, I guess it was really common in pagan times for them to mix different animals. And different fabrics, same thing. So it's really just a call here to don't copy your pagan neighbors' practices. And then having the four tassels on the corners is also a separation because, a Hebrew man would be immediately identifiable out of every other countryman because of the tassels on the corners of their garment. So, yeah. So all these are all part of being set apart from all other people, and they are commanded to have different traditions. And the tassels are commanded in Numbers. I feel like I wrote that down wrong. In Numbers chapter 15, 37 through 41. And then, so that's just to weave that blue cord in the tassels on the corners of their robe. But this can be taken to a different extreme, as we'll see in Matthew 23:5. Let me turn to that real quick. It's the red letters. 23:5. So Matthew 23:5. But they do all their deeds to be noticed by men, for they broaden their phylacteries and lengthen the tassels of their garments. So this was to set them apart, but not for them to be like, oh, I'm holier than thou. Like some of the Pharisees were doing. Does that make sense? Now, part of being set apart, let's turn to 2 Corinthians here, because this ties in pretty well. 2 Corinthians 6:14. One more page here. All right. So 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be bound together with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness and lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? So, this is all part of them being set apart. They are not supposed to copy their pagan neighbors' things, because, what fellowship does light have with dark? Alright. Any questions on that part? Alright, so now we got a big chunk of reading here. 13 through 21. So my Bible has the little title for this called Laws on Morality. Yeah. So this will be kind of interesting here. So Deuteronomy 22:13. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then turns against her and charges her with shameful deeds and publicly defames her and says, I took this woman, but when I came near her, I did not find her a virgin, then the girl's father and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of the girl's virginity to the elders of the city at the gate. The girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man for a wife, but he turned against her. And behold, he has charged her with shameful deeds, saying, I did not find your daughter a virgin, but this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. So that would be the parents going to the elders. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. So the elders of the city shall take the man and chastise him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give it to the girl's father, because he publicly defamed a virgin of Israel, and she shall remain his wife, and he cannot divorce her all his days. But if the charge is true, that the girl was found not a virgin, then they shall bring out the girl to the doorway of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death, because she has committed an act of folly in Israel, and by playing the harlot in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from among you. Alright, what are your guys' first thoughts here? A lot of dead youngins nowadays. So and we have a decline to comment over here. Alright. So a lot of this is cultural, but the biggest point before we get into all of this is that in ancient Israel, virginity is highly valued, because non-virgins had a much, much lower chance of getting married. And this ties into their culture of having a dowry and, kind of the promise that was made in marriage was that you're marrying a virgin. So, the first part here, this would be discovered on the wedding night when the husband would go to consummate the marriage, and he would discover her to not be a virgin. So he would feel kind of cheated in that sense. So the man would feel cheated or deceived in the marriage bed. And what follows is a process towards the resolution of this problem. Essentially, the cloth that would be shown the elders. So during this time frame, the first time the woman would have, I guess would break the seal, they would do it on a special cloth that would catch the droplets of blood from breaking the seal and the woman losing her virginity. And then the parents of the woman would keep that cloth as proof of their daughter's virginity in the marriage. So this is what they're referring to when they would furnish proof of their daughter's virginity to clear her name. So, from what I was reading, kind of the commentary in the margins, some people don't believe it's actually good proof. Some people believe it is proof because typically people are given for marriage at around 12 to 13 years old. So bleeding would be very normal. So it's a completely different culture. I hear a weird out here. Yeah. So if the parents can furnish the evidence of the virginity, then the husband forfeited his right to divorce her for any reason at all, and was made to pay 100 shekels of silver. Do you guys have any kind of reference on what that might pertain to? So the best numbers that I could get was like the average working man would make about a denarii a day, and 2 denarii is 1/2 of a shekel. So 4 days of work is 1 shekel. So if you rough math here, they're finding him about a year's wages, and it would be paid to the girl's family. Well, it's also supposed to really, really deter from false allegations. But it's also, if the parents couldn't furnish the proof, and she was in fact not a virgin, then Well, if she's wrong and did not furnish the proof of her innocence and did not follow the proper procedure for waiting for marriage, yeah. Well, so here is why the death penalty is called for. It's because she was playing the harlot and not collecting the virgin price from the person she had sex with in the first place, and not claiming that right with the first person, and he should have paid that virgin price, but also for trying to deceive the new husband. So, yep. But, I mean, I would have to assume that both sides of the family would be in front of all the elders, and it would be the whole big ordeal, so it's not like it's done in secret. But let's go way back to Exodus 22, verse 16 and 17, for a little bit more context on this, because it's a very cultural thing. Exodus 22. Alright, Exodus 22, 16 and 17. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and lies with her, he must pay a dowry for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money equal to the dowry for virgins, which I believe, though I didn't write it down, is about 50 shekels of silver. So about half a year's wages. So this would have been what she should have collected from the first guy that she's trying to collect from the second guy by not telling him that she's not a virgin. So I kind of see this as one sin leads to another, and it just grows exponentially. I don't know. It's a tough topic. All right. Any questions or comments on that part? And to echo what Fred said, male-dominated society, so different rules. Yeah. All right. Is that thing working? There we go. I think it's working again. Let's see. There we go. All right. So moving on to verse 22. Deuteronomy 22:22. If a man is found lying with a married woman, then both of them shall die, the man who lay with the woman and the woman. Thus he shall purge the evil from Israel. There we go. Yes. Well, but we kind of look at today's culture where adultery isn't punished harshly or isn't really punished at all in a lot of cases. Yeah, in some cases applauded, and the way the court system is set up, the court system kind of rewards it, but that's a whole different conversation and beyond the scope of this Bible study. So, how often do you guys think that this was carried out? A lot. So maybe not as much as you might think, because remember, no party is to be put to death on the evidence of only one witness. So there'd have to be 2 to 3 witnesses minimum. Well, two witnesses minimum, 3 witnesses preferred. So, but since we're on this subject, and both parties are to be put to death, let's turn to John verses 8, or John chapter 8, 1 through 12. So, John chapter 8. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Alright. So, John chapter 8, verses 1 through 12. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives early in the morning. He came again into the temple, and all the people were coming to him. And he sat down and began to teach him. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, and having set her in the center of the court, they said to him, Teacher, this woman has been caught in adultery in the very act. Now when the law of Moses commanded us to stone such a woman, what then do you say? They were saying this, testing him, so that they might have grounds for accusations, or accusing him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground. But when they persisted in asking him, he straightened up, and he said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to cast a stone at her. Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, they began to go one by one, beginning with the older ones, and he was left alone. And the woman, where she was, in the center of the court, straightening up, Jesus said to her, Woman, where are they? Did no one condemn you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said, I do not condemn you either. Go from now on, sin no more. So, they were supposed to bring both the man and the woman, but they only brought the woman to stone. So the Pharisees weren't even being consistent in their own Mosaic law, trying to test Jesus, because they only wanted to stone the woman. Which, to make Carla happy, the man should have died too. Any questions on that part? So, yeah. So this wasn't really carried out a whole lot, but it was a massive deterrent from adultery. Kind of like the parents being able to take their son out in front of the elders and be like, he's rebellious, let's kill him. Massive, massive deterrent. Alright. So now we're going to move on to 23 through 29. And this is going to be kind of an interesting one. And I brought up what is kind of, it's like half translation, half commentary from Hebrew on this, because this is a very kind of difficult part. So, if there is a girl who is a virgin engaged to a man, and another man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and you shall stone them to death. The girl because she did not cry out in the city, and the man because he has violated his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge the evil from among you. 25. But if in the field the man finds a girl who is engaged, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lies with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the girl. There is no sin in the girl worthy of death. For just as the man rises against his neighbor and murders him, so is this case. When he found her in the field, the engaged girl cried out, but there is no one to save her. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin who is not engaged and seizes her and lies with her, and they are discovered, then the man who lay with her shall give her father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife, because he has violated her. He cannot divorce her all his days. So, kind of a weighty subject here, discussing rape. So there's 3 different scenarios here. So in the city, if the woman doesn't protest loudly enough, fight back enough, the way the scripture says it, she would be disgracing her virginity. So, and it's interesting to note here that the woman is considered a wife even if only betrothed or engaged. So what do you guys think about that? Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. So I wrote down some questions here so we can kind of discuss the implications. And I'm going to go through these questions with you guys before I read this other translation or commentary. So, what if he muffles her? Or what if he threatens to kill her? What if there's no witnesses? Because it's asking someone to be them both to be put to death even if there's no witnesses. Yeah. Yeah, if she bites his hand, okay. So yeah. Yeah. If she can prove that she fought back. Okay. So now in the country, Carly will be happy. Only the man is executed. Because no one, presumably everyone was far away, and no one could have helped the woman, and the woman is presumed innocent. So again, no references, anything like that. Or not reference, witnesses. You guys ever do that thing where you're like, if you're typing something out and someone says something next to you, you start typing what they said? Well, I have that for speeching too, because like I have reference written right here, which is why I said it. So this is an article from Sefaria.org on this, and I believe it was published in 1971. So let me read this, and I think it clarifies a lot of it. The subject of the betrothed maiden concerns a case of witnesses seeing from afar a man taking a hold of a maiden and lying with her in the city, whereupon the witnesses shouted and warned them, and in parentheses here, or brackets, of the sin thereof and its death penalty. In the opinion of our rabbis, both of them are liable to stoning, for the woman also is under presumption of voluntary adultery, since she did not cry out at all. For it is normal for any woman who is raped in the city to scream for help and to be saved. If, however, the witnesses saw in the field that the man grabbed her and lay with her, she is under the presumption of having been raped and is therefore free of punishment. The meaning of the phrase, "for he found her in the field, she cried," is thus that she probably screamed, for even though the witnesses did not hear her cry, it is presumed that she cried for help. Or it may mean that even if she had cried, there is none to save her. For even if they heard, that she did not cry, she is free of punishment, since there was no one to save her. In general, if these people are to save her, and she did not cry, whether it be in the city or the field, she is guilty. Where there is none to save her, whether it be in the city or the field, she is free. Scripture speaks of the common case, i.e., that in the city there are people to save her, and in the field there are none. But the law is explained the same in all cases. So this is from kind of a Jewish, or not Jewish, Hebrew translation. But I think that really kind of clears it up. Does that make sense, guys? Or at least fills in the gaps of what's missing from a different translation. All right. Any questions on that? No? All right. Then Deuteronomy 22, verse 30. A man shall not take his father's wife, so that he will not uncover his father's skirt. All right. What are your guys' first thoughts? Another word for that would be so instead of skirt, nor uncover his father's bed. So, from what I gathered, this probably refers to the son marrying his stepmother after his father passes. So there's no direct blood relation, but it's weird. So, like, the fact that it has to be spelled out means it was done. And we know it was done because we can turn to 1 Corinthians 5, 1 through 2. Come on. Well, I mean, I think it just goes to show that people have been dumb a really long time. So 1 Corinthians 5, 1 and 2. It is actually reported that there is immorality among you, an immorality of such a kind that doesn't even exist among the Gentiles, that someone has his father's wife. You have become arrogant and have not mourned instead, so that the one who had done this deed would be removed from your midst. So, clearly, this was a problem. Well, it's funny because, like, now with modern genetics and everything, we know why it was bad because, you know, the eyes start getting closer together or other birth defects. Like, you know, it's not good for the gene pool. Look at classic Victoria, England. So, yeah, all sorts of bad stuff there. An incredible desire to play banjo. So, really, it's, you know, it's a law. No incest or things incest adjacent. And this is also to preserve his father's honor. So, no, what's that? Was it Greek writing? Was it Oedipus that married his mother or something? Or killed his father to marry his mother? Yeah. At any rate, don't. Weird. no. Yeah, fake the whole thing. Yeah. That's crazy. I think it really just compounds. A little bit of sin leads to more sin, leads to more sin. It's just a snowball. Gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I have some more of the next chapter written out, but I think we're at a pretty good stopping point. I think we covered a good amount tonight. So, who's going to go build a roof or a little wall around their roof now? A parapet? Who's going to go show kindness to animals? As soon as I get home, yep. Well, I don't think we have any other events coming up, so I think we just have... I don't think we're... Is it Pray and Play this Friday? Next Friday, okay. So we just have regular Sunday service at 11, and then next Wednesday service at 6. And then we're going to go into personal and private prayer request, and we'll see you guys next time.